monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Notice what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
Just been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host, as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Tony. What's going on, brother?
Not much, dude. How you been, bro?
I've been good. Except the buffalo bites this morning. That was not good.
That's not good.
No.
They didn't work out.
Had the tummy rumblies a little.
Oh, no. Not the bubble guts.
Oh, it was scary.
Oh, yeah. A couple false alarms there.
That's the thing. There was just alarms, but no fire.
Fire. Well, that's good to hear.
Very good. Hi, welcome to the podcast where we talk about my bowel movements.
Yes, exactly. On a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. It's the true horror of life.
True horror of life.
No. How you been, man?
I've been good, dude. I've been good.
Yeah.
Still getting into the holiday spirit. All the stuff I've been watching lately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Popping in a couple. I just bought. I went Christmas shopping last weekend, and I had to get something for the boys at Best Buy. And lo and behold, I'm just like, you know what? Let me look at their pitiful little section of movies that they have now, because they've condensed them into one small area now, where it used to be multiple rows and aisles of movies. Now it's all in like one area. I'm like, well, let me look at this pitiful little outlet, or this little pitiful section they have now. And lo and behold, I was looking through, and I saw the Krampus, the new Scream Factory Krampus Naughty Cut with that gorgeous, beautiful artwork. And I was like, oh man, this has to come home with me. And I haven't really bought too much, so I saw that, and it was like, man, I gotta have this. So I grabbed it, took it home and watched it. That movie's so much fun. It is so much fun. It's so creative.
Oh yeah.
I love the lore that it tells. Same guy that directed Trick or Treat, so you know how he knows how to do monsters and creature designs, and he does it so well. And just reiterating my love for that movie, watching it again, that new cut, which, to be honest with you, I don't think it was too much added in. There was a couple scenes here and there, so maybe a couple minutes of extra footage in that cut, but still, just to have that addition with that cool artwork and stuff like that, couldn't pass it up. Yeah. And it was my second 4K. I only have two 4Ks, and that was the second one I bought. So,
wow.
Don't have a 4K player yet. Don't have a 4K TV yet or anything like that. But it does. That both of them include the Blu-ray. So I was like, well,
okay,
why not?
Yeah.
I love
that
sleek black case too, which is really cool.
That kind of. I didn't know that. So Scream Factory is now putting 4K out.
Yeah.
Oh. Have they? Is that their first title, or have they done many other titles? Or
I don't think so. I think they put out a few before, but yeah, this one really just, I had to have this one, man. Me being a fan of the movie, I was like, yeah, it looks so appealing on the shelf with all the other bland covers. That cover just shining at you, and it's like, buy me, take me home with you. So I had to grab it. Couldn't pass it up. Yeah, it was cool, man. It was good fun time. I was watching that while I was decorating the living room with Christmas decorations. So I was really feeling the holiday season.
Yeah,
good
honestly,
stuff.
I've been looking on I think it was Tubi. Yeah, so Shudder, to my surprise, really doesn't have a whole lot of Christmas movies out there. I mean, I think maybe you got to look for them more so by title, you know, on there. So maybe that's where I might be wrong. I know that I've seen quite a few titles on there, pertaining to Christmas, but I think Tubi's kind of where it's at because I just type in Christmas and it just starts popping up. It's almost
Yeah.
kind of like I've got an algorithm going on Tubi, so it's like
Yeah.
showing me horror films already.
Yeah. Same here.
And then I just type in Christmas and it just pops up a shit
Oh.
ton of Christmas horror films.
Well, I love Tubi, man. It
Yeah.
kind of subsidizes your history and your algorithm and just gives you suggestions that you'd like based on just one title or one theme, and it'll just pop up all the stuff that you'd be interested in. But no, dude, definitely check out Shudder because I know this month they're putting. I'm really excited because they're putting the Silent Night, Deadly Night sequels on there. So they have Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, 4, and 5.
I did notice that.
I've never seen any past 2, so I'm definitely going to be checking those out on Shudder this year or this month at some point. And because I really want to see the sequels. I've never seen them before, so I'm really, really excited about that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple titles that I'm interested in seeing that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
It's good. We're living in a good time, man. Where all these movies that are, previously unseen, they're popping up on all these different streaming services to where you can watch them, and it's good. It's easy and it's convenient. So, we're always going to be physical media guys, but still, some of those titles that not to say Silent Night, Deadly Night, the sequels don't have a release, but it's kind of a one shot, one done deal release, and I never got a hold of one, so the convenience of them being on Shudder is it's perfect timing. So it works out pretty good. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking those out.
Yeah, definitely. I know. Well, the cool thing is you can actually catch both of these. Well, or shall I say, this movie on both platforms. I don't know if you noticed that, but it is on Shudder and it is on Tubi as well.
Yeah, well, I didn't notice that. I popped in my Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray and checked it out, and it's such a good little release. I love the hell out of it. I was really, really stoked on it when it first came out, or when they first teased it, and definitely picked it up real fast because I've always wanted to check this out. Well, I had the DVD. Well, I've checked it out before, but just seeing print got me excited. Maybe some special features and stuff like that really got excited because I got the DVD from Synapse, and that's what I used to see the movie on when I first watched.
I'm curious, what does the cover look like for Synapse? Is it the one with Santa on the front of it? Not like not him as Santa, not your main character as Santa, but like it's got like just like almost like an ornament Santa or whatever on the front of it.
Yeah,
okay.
Very similar. Yeah, it's got him with if I'm not mistaken, like a sack full of toys and stuff. Ah, man, it's been a while since I looked at the cover because I haven't.
It's white. It's white, right?
Yeah. Because there was a different cover that was red. Kind of similar in artwork, but it was just a red cover. And then one I have is a white cover.
Or not the Synapse, but the Vinegar Syndrome is like a close up of his face, right?
Yeah,
but it's like cartoony.
Yeah, it's cartoony. As a matter of fact, I got it right here.
That's it.
He's like a zombie Santa for some odd reason.
Yeah. So, well, I'm curious to talk about that a little bit too. But so that I believe that release is on Shudder. The other release is on Tubi. So you can actually watch two different style releases, I guess you would, or different formats of releases.
Yeah. Did you watch it on Shudder or did you watch it on Tubi? So
funny story. I couldn't actually get logged back in on my Shudder account for some reason. I went to go watch it. So I watched it a week ago for the review, or this past weekend. And then when I went to go in to rewatch it, I couldn't get back in. I couldn't log back in, and I got tired of trying to mess with it. So I was like, you know what? I'll deal with it later. I need to watch this movie, so I watched it on Tubi.
Okay.
So that's how that went down. So I did watch both versions, but I was too tired watching on Shudder when I watched it. It was like at 3:00 in the morning. I was tired as hell. I just worked a 12-hour shift, and I was just dead. So I ended up falling asleep like the last 30 minutes of the movie. And
But you made it in pretty far then, man.
yeah, well, I'm gonna get into that because I'm kind of curious because even on this viewing, I thought about it and I was like, wow. Now I can kind of see why I kind of fell asleep at one point, but we'll get
Yeah.
into it. We'll get into it. So, folks, sorry you don't know what the title is yet. Well, you do now, but it's Christmas Evil from 1980.
1980.
And this was a pretty doozy of a film. I liked it.
The magical year of 1980.
It was interesting because not like even as I was watching it, my mom actually came into the living room and she was like, "What are you watching?" And I told her, and she was like, "What year did that come out?" I said, 1980. She was like, "Really?" So it's almost like she never even heard of it, you know. So I'm kind of wondering if it was just one of those movies that was kind of unsuccessful back in the day and gained a cult following throughout the years.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to get into this, man, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. There's a lot of information I want to cover with this movie.
Okay.
But one of the things is when you think about it, and I don't know if I want to jump into this now, but I guess I can kind of just first time. We will be covering this movie extensively, so spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't seen Christmas Evil. Better watch out. It also goes by the title Better Watch Out, which when I popped in my Blu-ray, that's the title that popped up on the title credits. So that was pretty neat.
That's the one that popped up on the Tubi as well.
Yeah. So when so we don't want to spoil anything. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Especially around this time of year, it's a great watch. But with that out of the way, the first time I watched this movie, I'll go ahead and say this now. First time I watched this movie, I was under the impression that when I picked up the Synapse DVD, I was under the impression that this was a straightforward slasher film. So me being a slasher junkie, I was really, really excited, super excited to pop it in, watch it. And when I did, I finally got a minute to pop it in, watch it for the first time. And when the movie ended, I was completely let down because it's not really a straightforward slasher film. There's a lot of other things going on in this movie. So when I first watched it, I was not a big fan. Going back and rewatching it, which I always suggest people do, if you see a movie for the first time and you're not really feeling it, you go back and watch it again, your whole perspective on it changed. Mine has. I absolutely adore this movie now. I love it because to me, this is one of those true cases of a character study wrapped up in a slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Maniac and another movie that I'm going to compare it to that we've covered before, Silent Night, Deadly Night. It reminds me a lot of Silent Night, Deadly Night. Has the same kind of beats, not the same movie necessarily, but kind of the same kind of beats onto trauma affecting this young person and affecting their life to where they see the image of Santa Claus maybe in a different light in this movie as to Silent Night, Deadly Night, but still the trauma affects them when they're an adult or when they get older. So I always, thinking about it now, and it's just so funny how both of these movies are considered the killer Santa movies, but both of them are very, very psychological. I mean, this is psychological horror to a T. I mean, it's really, really effective. So I mean, that's my perspective on it. I've completely changed my viewpoint on it. Now it's like it's an annual watch for me. Every year I'll pop this movie in around Christmas time and watch it, along with other classics like Silent Night, Deadly Night, Black Christmas. It's on heavy rewatch for me around this time of year. But man, I mean, is this the first time watch for you?
So yes and no, I guess you would say, because like I said, I watched it the other day for the first time, and yeah, I kind of resonate with you a little bit, man, because the first time I watched it, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it at all. I was like, wow, this is not really catching me. I'm not really, I don't know. I don't know if it was because I was just so tired. I don't know what it was, but I didn't care about it as much. And I don't know, like even and so when I first watched it, that was just the feeling I got. I didn't care for it too much. I didn't understand what was going on with Harry. At the time, I was really I found myself kind of confused at times. Just because you got Harry, but then you got his brother, who's essentially he's fucking whacked out of his head too a little. And I'm just like, I'm like, okay, which one was the older brother? Which one was the younger brother? I was so confused by that at first. It wasn't until I watched it for the second time that I don't know. It like you said, really played out differently for me. And I don't know. It was just yeah, you got to give this movie a second chance, really, because
Well,
I was ready after that first watch to give it like a 2 star rating. Like I didn't really care about it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, for me, it took a while because I watched this movie a long, long time ago when I first got the Synapse DVD when it first came out. I can't remember what year. And I watched it and was kind of let down by it, so I didn't revisit it for a long time afterwards. And then, one year, I want to say about 3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this movie in a while. Let me pop it in. It was Christmas time. I had like a list of films that I wanted to check out and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? It's been a while. Let me pop this in again and watch it and see what, because I remember not really digging it too much. So let me see if my opinions changed. Boy, did it change, man. My
yeah.
my opinion changed completely to where I'm like, I see this movie in such a better light now that I have the mindset of it's not a slasher film per se. It's a psychological horror film.
Yeah.
And that resonates with me more and it makes me love the movie more.
Well, yeah, and like you said, it definitely, even just a couple days later when I rewatched it, and that's the way I felt. I felt that this was more of a, yes, it's a slasher film because that is what it is. Bottom line, that's what it is. But it's so much more than just that,
Yeah.
because it is a character study. It is
Yeah.
character development. It's everything. And like you said, ultimately it's a psychological horror. It's almost like
And,
here's the slasher, here's the psychological, and it's everything in between.
and
That's
it
what it
doesn't
seems like to
speed.
me.
The thing I love about it is it doesn't speed through the psychological aspects. It really takes its time to build.
It really shows you his
Yeah.
mental state and how it is just going through worse and worse.
Hmm.
Almost like I wrote that down. You can literally see the different steps that it is taking, and you almost see a moment when he snaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll get
Yeah.
into that because that was a cool scene.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I agree, and I can't wait to talk about that. But
I want to go
I,
back though to the original scene, and you were talking about how this movie almost seemed like it had inspiration from certain films and stuff. What about Halloween?
um, yeah, to an extent. I mean, I see it more. It,
I see it in the beginning of the movie, and this is just me, but like just like Michael Myers, young Michael Myers, all he wanted to do was go out trick or treat, right? And instead, his sister stayed home, did her business, and he got pissed off, and essentially that's what happened. That's what started it, right?
yeah.
It almost seemed like it just snapped in him. A little suburban kid, doesn't look like he's had a problem in a day in his life, and then he just snaps.
Yeah.
That's almost the case with this. It just
Right.
seems like he hasn't been right ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he
Down
definitely.
to the point where he's decorated his entire apartment Christmas theme
Right.
practically year round, probably.
Yeah, I'd say so because they don't really. I mean, because this movie starts a little before Thanksgiving because there's a cool scene where the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is on TV, and so it takes place way before Christmas and Christmas Eve and everything. So it takes place a lot, but you can tell. See, the catalyst is our when the movie starts out, we have our character Harry, who's a young boy
Hmm.
who his mom and his brother are waiting for Santa Claus to pop in and drop off the presents. So they're kind of watching, and it's actually Harry's dad dressed in a Santa Claus outfit. And he's excited. The presents are getting dropped off underneath the tree, excitement's in the air. Of course, when you're a young child and you see that, it's just the magical, the magical thing of Christmas is like it just speaks to you because a child, what you're going to get under that tree. So you're excited, you're amped up, you're fired up.
Mhm.
So after that, Harry and his brother are, I guess they're in bed, and then he sneaks down and sees,
Well, Bill keeps telling him, hey, that was just Dad,
yeah,
and he's like, no, it wasn't. That was Santa.
yeah, because he doesn't want to break the facade
Mm.
of Harry believing in Santa Claus, which is funny because I think Harry's the older brother, so that's an interesting dynamic.
Mhm.
But so Harry comes back down, curious. He comes back downstairs and sees Dad in the Santa Claus outfit making the moves on his mom, and it kind of fucks him up. It really fucks him up. So he runs back upstairs and goes to I think the attic.
Yeah, he goes into the attic.
And he goes and grabs the snow globe and he breaks it and he cuts himself. Blood gets on the ground, glasses everywhere, and then it snaps from there into an adult Harry, now living on his own. He's a middle-aged man living on his own, doesn't have a family of his own other than his brother and his brother's kids and his wife.
Mhm.
So he lives by himself, and you can tell he's just obsessed with the holidays. He's obsessed with Christmas.
Mhm.
He's obsessed with the idea of Christmas.
I mean,
Even
down to the point where he's like, I love the fact that he did that. He actually looked around the neighborhood at all the kids and was picking out which one was naughty and nice.
which on the outside looking in, if you're just somebody watching this movie, you could see that all that going on. That's really, it comes off as very creepy and pervy
Mhm.
and very, it just gets under your skin. But you have to understand, Harry, in his heart of hearts, believes that he is Saint Nick. Like he believes that he's Santa Claus.
Yeah,
And,
or he's
and
well. I think
it comes
I think
off
he feels like he's becoming Santa.
right. Well, it comes off more innocent than it would look from the outside looking in. Like you see an adult middle-aged man spying on kids, like, oh, that's creepy, that's disgusting, that's some perverted shit. But he really, in his heart of hearts, believes he's doing this because he wants to keep track of who's naughty and nice, and he actually has log books of
Mhm.
all the kids and writes down what they're doing, whether they're being good or bad. And one kid in particular is a bad kid that's my favorite thing. My favorite little running joke in the movie is the Moss Garcia. Like he
Yeah.
just flips out when when he hears the name Moss Garcia.
Oh,
And
he's like panning over and he's like, Johnny's taking out the garbage and he's like such a good boy and he looks at little Susie and she's playing with her dolls and he's like such a sweet angel and then he looks over and the kid's got a fucking penthouse and he's cutting the centerfold out and shit. And he's like Muscasia.
yeah,
He like runs to his apartment. This is so he actually wrote let me see where I wrote it down here. He wrote this down in the naughty list for him. Impulsive thoughts, and then underneath that, he went back and he was like, body hygiene.
I think he had picking his nose is another one, which is
Yeah,
which goes down to yeah. So he really takes his all this very seriously, and he
yeah.
wants to emulate the holidays, and he even down to his job where he works, which is another little theme in the movie. He works for a toy company called Jolly Time, and they manufacture toys on an assembly line.
Mhm.
So, which looks like the most boring, mundane job of all time. I mean, you stand there at one spot.
I would hate that fucking job.
Oh, it looks so miserable and boring. You stand in one spot and toys go down the line, the
Conveyor
belt,
belt, yeah.
basically build them, and then whenever you don't get to, the person beside you will get to it, and it's just like an assembly line. So, well, Harry is, I think he's a manager at this
Yeah.
facility, if I'm not mistaken. Like he just got promoted because he used to work on the line.
Yeah.
So he takes this job very seriously.
Which is kind of the story of Santa a little bit. I mean, Santa, pretty much he was like a worker elf for the longest time, and then he worked his way up, right?
Yeah.
and so he's like now the big man, right? So this was kind of Harry's situation, right?
Which
he was on the
I
floor
think,
and he worked
yeah,
his way up.
which I think was very intentional when they wrote the script for this movie. I think they really did that with intention, because
Definitely.
even then there's scenes where he meets the head of this company and a new executive of the company, and they're really pushing this like toy drive, but they're pushing it to where the employees are the ones that are whatever extra work that they output is going to go to the children's hospital for them to have a Christmas this year. So Harry really believes in it, but it's like a marketing ploy for them. Essentially, they're not doing it with the most pure intentions, and that really pisses him off. And he loses his mind when he finds out about that, because he really does care about the kids enjoying and and living the magic of Christmas and the Christmas time. So there's a lot of things that start to wear on him throughout the movie, and that's just one little example. But yeah, there's a scene which I thought was funny is one of the guys that works on the line is like trying to con somebody into working his shift so he can get out, and he says he's going to go out with his wife and they have plans to do something.
Go to vacation. They were going to get an early start.
Yeah, in reality, you find out he's at the bar drinking, living it up with a couple of guys that work at the factory too.
Yeah.
He cons Harry, which I thought was really weird, that this factory, the worker on the floor is going to con a boss man to work for him. I don't know how that works, but okay, we'll just chalk it.
That's the classic, being able to take advantage of the boss,
Yeah, which I thought was weird. Normally, you don't see the workers like, "Hey, you're going to do my job for me while I go off with the wife and stuff like that," and the boss just go with it like that. You normally don't see that too often, so I thought that was interesting. But it just goes to show how kind of Harry gets stepped on, and he doesn't really have a backbone where he can't say, "Hey, no, I'm not going to do that," or this is that. He doesn't really stand up for himself a lot, and it shows when you realize the relationship with his brother, the relationship with the guys at work. He kind of just lets people walk all over him all the time. And it works in a number of ways to where you see that that's just part of his character, but then you also sympathize with him as somebody watching the movie. You sympathize with his character too, because you're like, wish he would stand up for himself and have more of a backbone and not let people walk all over him. You sympathize with his character, and it works really, really well throughout this movie. And a lot of that has to do with Brandon I think it's Maggart, the guy that plays Harry. His acting in this is phenomenal, dude.
It really is.
Really is great in this movie. There's scenes where you can tell he's starting to psychologically break down, and it's just done so well for this character, for everything that he's trying to emulate. He does it to a T, and it's magical watching his performance in this movie. Which is funny. I don't know if you know, but this is Fiona Apple, the artist. I think this is her dad. So
wow.
It's a little tidbit out there. This is her dad, which is pretty neat. When I found that out, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Which is another thing is there's the little boy that plays Moss Garcia. His mom is the same actress that plays Tim the Toolman Taylor's wife in Home Improvement, which is pretty cool too.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of actors in this where you're like, oh shit, I recognize this person. Oh, that's who that is. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on too in this movie.
That's funny. I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that she was she said to him,
what, my one night out and you have to ruin it for me?
Yeah, she slaps the shit out of the kid. She was like, my one night out, you're gonna try and ruin it.
Yeah. You can tell that this is a woman that doesn't get out much, and she's just wanting to live it up, and she's not putting up with Moss's shit.
Yeah.
Which I love that scene.
He's like, I just want to sit at home and watch TV. She goes, now you're starting to sound like your father.
Damn. Yeah, she definitely like letting him have. But I love that.
That's the scene though. That's not the scene, but the scene that I was talking about where you finally get to Harry's snapping point is the scene where he goes and he sees what's the guy's name? Jeff, I think. Is it Jeff, the guy that conned him into working?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he
He's like,
he sees him at the bar, and it just so happens that he's walking past that bar, and Jeff is telling the story about how he got that idiot to work for him, and instantly, like, he goes back to his house or his apartment, and you can see him kind of just he's like breathing heavy. He doesn't know how to act right now. You can tell he's like very upset and bothered. And then he
Yeah.
sits down and he's grunting and he's moaning because he's breathing heavy. He goes and gets a doll, and then he's still, breathing really heavy. And as he kind of calms down, he starts humming a Christmas tune. And that's when you could tell he's snapped. That's
Snap.
it.
Phenomenal acting.
And there's even down to a metaphorical snap, because he starts, kind of humming the Christmas Carol more and more, faster and faster, to the point where he snaps the doll in half.
Yeah.
And that was it. Boy broken right there.
Which, going back to what you said, that's another little aspect of this movie that I love, is as we progress through the narrative, when he's talking to somebody that he doesn't really agree with their intentions or what they believe in, he's like, he keeps bringing up his tune. He's trying to perfect his tune. And he says that throughout the movie. Each and every time he's talking to his brother, he brings it up. He's like, I think I've perfected my tune. He's like, you should be proud of me. And he just keeps bringing that up. And I love how they keep bringing that up throughout the movie, because he's really obsessed with it. And he wants to, in his tune, he's talking about his work, what he's going to do, what he's done.
Yeah.
To that point, what he's done already. So I just think that's a fascinating way to go about doing that metaphorically, bringing up a tune, and he's trying to perfect it, which I thought was.
There's a scene where he's at the Christmas party, the company Christmas party. And this is the scene I was talking about that had me fucking rolling, and I had to fucking rewind it several times because this shit was hilarious. But he's like, I gotta tell you, I found my tune. I found my tune, missing tune, and he's like, I've perfected it. Now I can finally sing my tune, right? And the guy, his friend, was like, I gotta tell you, Harry, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That just happened so fast. I was like, what?
It's just the way he says it, man. He's so matter of fact about it. It's hilarious.
I was like, yeah, I gotta watch that again.
I gotta tell you, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's just the way he says it. It's beautiful. But that's the thing about this film, is there's so many little scenes that you can pull, and it's just like, that was brilliant. I love that. That scene was brilliant. I love that. It's scene after scene after scene throughout the whole runtime where you find something to pull from it, and you're like, I love that. And the more I did that, the more I watch it, the more I'm like, I love every little aspect of this movie from beginning to end. There's not one part of this movie I don't like and I don't enjoy. Like, it throughout the entire runtime, I'm having a great time. Because it's weird to say a great time, because this really is a bleak, kind of depressing film, because you're seeing this man's mental state deteriorate, and the way they do it is so genuine, and it's not over exploitive in a way. It's really it makes sense too, because statistically Christmas is one of the most depressing times of the year. So when you think about it in those terms, and you see this man's slow deterioration, where he has nothing, he seems like he has nothing. The only thing he really seems like he has is his nephews, who you can tell his nephews really, really love him, because they really get sad when they don't see him over the holidays.
I think even his sister-in-law loves him too. It seems like his brother. I don't know if his brother hates him or what, or just wishes that he would just snap out of it and be normal.
He wishes his brother was more normal. Yeah, I think he genuinely, because there's a scene where they're talking on the phone, and you can tell his brother genuinely cares about him, but he just doesn't like what he's become, and he wants him to be just a normal person. And he just can't have that, and it makes him mad, and he lashes out in his own way and lashes out on him. And I don't think he wants to do that, but he's trying to snap him into reality and try to get him past his demons, which you just can't do by yelling and berating a person. They have to have the mental help that they need. It's not therapeutic at all to just snap on somebody that's going through a mental state like this and expect them to get over it and get better. It's irresponsible almost. So his brother's not always going about it the best way by berating him. And I think that has a lot to do with his deterioration throughout the film as well, because you can tell they have a contested relationship, even based on the dialogue from his sister-in-law to him saying, when Harry comes over, don't get on him. Don't be all over him. He's like, well, I can't help it. If I can't say anything to him without getting into him because he irritates me. He drives me crazy and stuff like that. So it's like, you can tell that you have a contested relationship already, just from a little scene of dialogue. It's years and years of almost abuse. And I guess it finally caught up to him at the end when he starts to go through his progression. So, but that's another thing that's so brilliant about this movie is it touches on that in such a subtle way where it's not throwing it in your face, but you're as the audience watching it and you're like, wow, you sympathize with his character. All the shit that he gets, like he's genuinely a good person. He wants to see kids happy. He wants to see them believe in the spirit of Christmas, and people give him shit for it because the world is so bleak and down on it. And reality is like that sometimes. So it's almost like he's innocent in a world of turbulence. Well, it's fascinating just to watch it in that.
I mean, and another thing is you clearly see that he's got a disorder. There is something off about him, and the world preys on that. They do. They treat people differently because of it and stuff like that. And
they do to a point where it seems like Harry can only be friends with the kids, and he really seems to have a genuine relationship in a very, very innocent relationship with these kids where he's like, he jokes around with them. Even when I love the little scene where he's going down the street and he's asking the kids what they want to be, and they're telling him what they want to be, and he's like, oh, that's wonderful. And the little boy's like, I just want to be a teacher so I can, or a principal. I think he said principal so I can shut schools down. He's like, he just laughs about it. And then the little girl tells him what she wants to be, and he's like, that's admirable. And then Moss Garcia is like, I want to.
Your subscription to Penthouse magazine.
Penthouse, and then he goes he does the Moss Garcia thing, and he every time he does that, I crack up. You can't ever not think of that name. Like that name's going to stick with you forever. Moss Garcia is going to stick with you all the time.
Start telling my kids to quit acting like Moss Garcia.
Genuine, caring, friendship with these kids, and they look up to him. And it's real sweet. It's real sweet. Especially what he does at the end when he finds out what the company's really using the toys for, and they're not being completely genuine. So he basically steals all the toys off the assembly line and takes them to the children's hospital to give out to the kids at the hospital, which is a moment. It's a beautiful moment.
Not just that. I don't know if you noticed what he was doing, but when he was going from like door to door, like people's houses, and I guess this was a time period where no one locked their doors because he was just free to walk in. But it looks like what he was doing was he was taking some of their gifts out and putting some of the crappy gifts in. Because like, why do these kids need all these nice, fancy, good toys when, the children at the hospital aren't hardly getting anything already, So I don't know if you noticed, but he was definitely taking gifts out from underneath trees and taking them to the hospital.
Yeah. Because
when he opens up the van, they were like, who donated this? And he goes, some people that didn't really know they were donating it.
Yeah. He's like, He's like Robin Hood almost. He's like Robin from the
Almost.
before. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like he wasn't taking all the gifts, but he was taking some of the gifts and like leaving some of the crummy, shitty Jolly Time gifts.
Yeah.
It's like,
Which he cared. That's another thing he cared about. He cared about the toy making process, and he didn't want to cheap out on these toys. He wanted to make sure these toys were top of the line and good for the kids. Like he's like, because there was even a string of dialogue that he's saying in front of the workers. He's like, well, making good, reliable toys is what's important and should be important for this company, not making cheap toys where you can manufacture them quick and make it an easy buck. You know, he's like product testing and stuff like that. That's what we really need to do to get these kids, you know, what they deserve and stuff like that. So you can tell he genuinely cares about it. And I think that was honestly not for like a money gain or anything like that. He honestly took the job as a manager to do that, not just step up in the company and make more money, but just make sure that these toys were the best for the kids. I honestly think that based on his character. Because he seems to not be in it for the monetary value. He seems to be in it for the sentimental value. These kids. So, and even there's toward the end when he's, you know, checking the toys for their product to see if they're good, and they start breaking. He's like, "Fuck it!" He just starts breaking them, and then he turns the lines on, and they just start falling off the line and breaking all over the place. I love it, dude.
yeah,
Fantastic. You know.
yeah, that was a pretty cool scene.
Yeah, but at this point in the story, Harry has become Santa Claus. He's got that suit, he's got the padding on it. It's a good looking suit too, man. He really did a great job on the suit, and his whole overall look is really, really good. Like with the white bushy hair and the big beard, and he even added padding to the suit to make him look fat, and it's really, really cool. I like the just the mink coat that he had, or whatever that fur is, where he put it on the ends of the suit and stuff like that to give it more flair and stuff like that. That was pretty neat. That looked interesting. But the whole suit, his whole getup, and I even love that he painted his van to look like Santa's sleigh with the reindeer on it too.
Yeah,
it's fucking awesome, man. The attention to detail was great.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. Like at one point, when he fully snapped into Santa Claus mode.
Yeah.
And he like even like as he's driving the van, he's like, you know, on Dasher, on Dancer. And he's like hitting the steering wheel.
So when you talk about the moment that you saw him snap, I saw a moment too where I think he went completely over the edge, and he finally did snap just based on his reaction. Is when he's looking himself in the mirror, and he puts the beard on, and he's like tugging at it to make sure it stays on. And he's just laughing maniacally and just going crazy while he's looking at it, because he's so happy that he's turning into what he wants to be, which is Santa Claus. And I think that's really when it goes over the edge, and he's completely at that point Santa Claus and no longer Harry at that point.
Yeah, I think that's when he fully snapped into mode,
because he has changed his appearance, and now he doesn't see himself as anything other than Santa Claus.
Yeah, because at one point he was like, at one point before the Christmas party at his company, you could see where he was doing the signal that Santa does, where he's like, I know. Because Santa Claus, when he says I know, he's like touching his nose. And at one point you see him doing that in a mirror, and then he covers his face and he just goes into, it almost seems like serial killer mode.
Yeah.
Almost like he's hiding Santa back there.
Yeah.
Almost kind of split personality type deal. And then, oh, maybe that's it. Maybe it's split personality, and then Santa just fully takes over once that beard, once the appearance is fully established. That's it.
You know, it could be, and that's what makes this movie to me great, is that that he's got some sort of disorder, or some sort of what do you call it? I guess disorder, really. But it's not fully diagnosed. It's never explained what is wrong with him, even toward the end. So it's like it's left up into your interpretation. You don't have to have everything spelled out for you. And that's what I love about movies at this time period, is that they didn't always have to spell shit out for the audience. They made the audience think. And that's what's important with film, is it challenges you. It makes you question, hey, what's going on here? And then you start internalizing it and making up your own assumptions. And I love that they do that in this movie. They don't fully explain that he's got multiple personality disorder or this or that. No, that's up to you to interpret on your own. Because some people, maybe with, some sort of disorder, can watch this and fully relate to him and say, hey, that's like me, or I think that he has this because I've seen people, I've known people that have this disorder, and this is all the signs of that in him. So you can make up your own assumptions in the story and what's going on with him, which I dig. But there's two moments, and I wanted to discuss. Another thing this movie does is it builds on tension really well. And there's two moments where it does it flawlessly. So when Harry's done donating the toys to the children's hospital, and he has a moment with the security guard. The security guard's like, I'm not letting you in this damn hospital, man. I don't care if you're dressed up as Santa Claus or not. And he's like, no, really, I'm short of time. I just want to bring these toys in for the kids. And they're just going back and forth and back and forth. So after that, he finally, and it's another thing I love, he's trying to perfect his Santa Claus laugh. And he's working on it, trying to get the perfect one. And he finally gets that perfect one, and he sticks with it.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the movie, he sticks with that laugh. So,
well, not just that, where he's saying Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas too. He wants to get the sound. He wants to sound like Santa Claus as well as look like Santa Claus too.
Yeah.
There's a scene when he's done donating gifts, and he's like making his way. I think this was before he killed those people on the steps. I think it might have been after. Yeah, it is after. So he goes to this Christmas party that's going on, where these kids are there, and he gets dragged into the Christmas party. These guys are outside, they drag him in. Oh, Santa Claus, bring him in. Let's let him meet the kids. So they bring him in, and they stand there and they want him to do Santa Claus stuff. So he's like, okay. So he plays along. He dances with the kids. He has a good time with them. And then at the end, the scene I'm talking about where I like the tension is when he's giving that lecture to the kids. He's like, listen, I want you guys to mind your parents and, stay in schools and this and that. And then it gets really serious for a minute. It's like, oh shit, the tension's building. He's like, because if you don't, Santa Claus is going to punish you. And everybody's looking like, oh shit. And then he just starts laughing, and it just releases all the tension. And everybody starts nervous laughing. It's like, they're like, oh shit, that was pretty dark. But hey, he's laughing, so everything's all good now. I thought that was fucking awesome. I love that scene.
Yeah.
And then another scene where they build the tension perfectly is when, he's had the killing spree, and basically the parents are looking for anybody. Everybody's looking for the Santa Claus who killed all these people, and they're trying to, bring him into custody. And Harry's in this back alley, and he's with these kids, and they're like, "Oh, Santa Claus," and they huddle up to him, and then the parents are like, "Get away, kids, get away!" And it's a really tense moment where there's like back and forth between the parents and the kids, and then Harry, because the kids are trying to protect him, because to them, that's Santa Claus. Why are you yelling at Santa Claus? Why are you trying to bring Santa Claus in? They can't understand it. They're innocent, and their perspective, they just don't understand what's going on. So they're trying to protect Santa Claus. This little girl's going back and forth with her dad. It's like, don't hurt Santa Claus. She's like, you can't do, she's trying to back him away, and this and that. It gets really tense in that scene. And I'm just, man, it's well directed, dude. It really is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, all the way down to, the one parent kind of tries to go after Harry with a knife, and he ends up dropping the knife, and the little girl picks it up, takes it to Santa. Yeah.
She has more allegiance to Santa Claus than her own father.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it speaks volumes, man.
Yeah. People just love him.
I mean, there is a body count in this film. It's not a high body count because, like I
really
said,
not. There's what?
Four deaths.
Four? Yeah.
Altogether, and 3 of them happen at one time. So,
yeah.
But it's a great scene, by the way. It's awesome.
It's very intense. You could tell that he definitely wants to get at kind of the head of the toy company, though.
Yeah.
Like those guys, he really didn't like. Those guys were just kind of there, and they were just innocent bystanders. Really, he was out to get the main guy up there.
Yeah. Well, they were
But
kind of assholes to him too, because they were like accosting him in front of the church, man. They were kind of like
yeah.
being a dick to him.
Mhm.
So they were kind of like they were kind of asking for it in a way, but it really is dark to kill somebody in front of a church step, like the church steps. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty dark, man. It got really dark there for a minute.
Yeah.
Just the way it was done too, with the shot of him taking the toy soldier and ramming it in that dude's eye. That shit was, oh God,
Yeah.
that was nasty.
I like how he just pulled out an arsenal of weapons out of amongst the sack of toys.
Yeah.
Because there was just a hatchet that he just randomly pulled out too, and he went ham on people with.
Yeah, he chopped them up. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly, man. It was like I said, with a film with not much gore and everything. That was where you got the majority of it, was right in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
So this film is very light on gore. It's like I said, it's not exploitive. It's more of a traditional character study and really, like, there's a class to this film a little bit. The way it's shot, and the way it's edited, and
Which I wanted to bring that up because I saw a lot of names in this film that were kind of like Italian or maybe even Spanish. Was it from a different country, or
no, it's an American
it was
film.
an American film? Okay.
Yeah.
It seemed like a couple of the names were kind of like the last names were kind of out there, and I was wondering, I didn't do my research, but I was wondering that if they were kind of, not from here, or this film wasn't from here, like it was shot somewhere else. But
Just a coincidence, really. But you can tell I love the film stock, and I just love the look of films at this time. Like, they all had that very dreary, like, haze to, and this movie had it in space.
Well, you can definitely tell that this film took place. I don't think it took place directly in New York. I think it was more like the Queens or something, or maybe even like Brooklyn.
Right?
You could see the outskirts. You can even see in one shot. It's a quick shot, but you can't see the Twin Towers.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a real quick shot, but it almost seems like they're across the bay or something.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know I don't really think at any point they really specified where they were
Yeah,
or where the film took place. I guess in New York City. I mean, if you see
that's what I took it as, that's where it was, like
yeah, 'cause
like I said, Queens or something.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, a lot of films at that time took place in New York, so Maniac just same year,
Mhm.
so it would not surprise me whatsoever. But yeah, dude,
Especially with him working for a manufacturing company, it probably definitely took place somewhere around in that area, because that's kind of all industrial, right?
yeah,
Right there.
yeah, a lot of that has to do. Did you recognize the guy that played Harry's brother?
He looked very familiar to me. I was trying to figure out where the hell I'd seen him from.
Well, I know you've seen your fair share of The Walking Dead, and he played the older gentleman that had the he died somewhat early in the show, but he was the older gentleman that I think he had the RV, and
Wow, that was
can't remember
Dale.
yeah, Dale. Yeah,
Dale.
that's Dale.
Wow, that was
Yep.
Dale.
A very, very young Dale. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a regular, and I love him. He was in The Blob, the remake of Blob, came out in '88. Yeah, he was in that. He was in The Mist for a while. He's in a lot of Frank Darabont stuff. He's a Frank Darabont guy, so he gets.
I was sad when they killed him off the show.
Yeah.
Actually, a little tidbit to you. I know you probably don't know this, but he actually died off fairly early in the comic book series, and they actually kept him as a main character for a while on the actual show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because I remember, man, when The Walking Dead first came out, I was super into it, dude. I was like, this is so cool. They got a zombie show on TV, on network TV. This is insane. What a world we're living in now. I'm so hooked on it. And, I definitely remember his character, and I couldn't remember his name because it's been so long since I've seen the show, but
Yeah.
I definitely remember him being on there. And then seeing him in this, I'm like, damn, he was so young, man. It's crazy, dude. But it makes sense. This came out in '80, so like I said, he was. But there's a lot of guys, and there's a lot of actors in here that you're like, holy shit, you've seen them before in other things, and it's like, this is early in your career. So it's really fascinating.
That's the beauty of horror, though. That's
tell
the
you,
start of everyone's career.
I tell everybody, even at work, when we're talking about big name actors and stuff like that, well, I'm like, most of these guys got their start in horror films because it was so
Yeah.
easy, and that's the way you broke into the industry.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've seen a lot of these big name actors and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of them super, super young in one of their first couple of roles. I've seen them a lot. So yeah, it's a real fascinating subject to get into with people because they're like, oh no, those people never did horror film. I'm like, yeah, they did. A lot of people you wouldn't think of, they did it.
No. Yeah.
So, but yeah, dude, this movie to me, I think this movie's fantastic. I really do.
Even down to there's a one of the kills we didn't really talk about was he got his revenge on Jeff towards the end of the film. He goes back to the house, he starts swapping gifts, and I don't think his intention at first was to go after Jeff and fully kill him.
Yeah.
But I think that the rage kind of built up, and that was it. I'm gonna get my last revenge on this guy.
Yeah.
Perfect. So he goes in and he smothers him at first, which he does poorly because he doesn't have much experience in killing people, especially a guy that's kind of twice the size of him.
Yeah.
So my thing was that he was smothering this guy, right? Wife laying next to this guy sleeping through it. Like, it blew my mind that she was just sleeping.
Deep sleeper.
Yeah. And then when she rolled over, that was it. He had to do something quick. So he slit his throat with a Christmas star he pulled off the top of a tree.
That was
I thought the brilliant point that I'm trying to get to with this scene is, he throws Jeff onto the wife as she's waking up because she's kind of not knowing what to do here. Or she wakes up and this is what's cool. He captured a moment of shock on this woman that you don't see in horror films much. So this is well written. But she's laying there and her husband's laying on top of her bleeding out, and she can't get the scream out. She's trying to, but you could tell that she's just in such a state of shock that she just can't do it. That's so brilliant. That is so brilliant because anyone in a situation like that would freeze. 100%.
Yeah, especially when you just woke up, you're disoriented already, and then you got something like that happen to you. You're just like, you're gonna tense up, you're gonna freeze up, and I love
you're not gonna scream right away because you're gonna be in a
perfect choice, and I think that's why the director, man, he I'm telling you, dude, this movie. When you look at it, when you break it down and stuff like that, the decisions that were made in the directing and the editing process, like, were so brilliant, man. So brilliant. And that's a perfect example. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a perfect example of how someone would realistically react in a situation like that. Because in any other movie, you'd see them scream right out the gate, like, but no, that was a
flip their shit. Yeah.
That was a real moment. Yeah.
Exactly. It felt genuine, felt real, because at one point he almost kind of lost reality too, because it almost seems like maybe Harry was in a state of shock as well there after killing him, because he walks through the living room, the kids come out and meet him, and he kind of just freezes and smiles to the kids and everything. Yeah. And they're smiling and oohing and ahhing over Santa as he, before he goes to walk out, and that's when you hear the mother finally scream, and that's when he gets the hell out of there,
Which, to me, makes this movie such an anomaly, because this movie came out a full 4 years before Silent Night, Deadly Night came out. And when Silent Night, Deadly Night came out, the shit hit the fan. Parents were protesting. They did not want Santa Claus portrayed as a killer, where these kids could see that, and it would just ruin their childhood. So they were completely, man, I remember the shitstorm when Silent Night, Deadly Night came out. Hearing everybody.
Roger and Ebert ripped the new one.
Ripped them apart. But this movie came out 4 years before, and no one said anything about this film.
Well, I think this film kind of flew under the radar, man. Like I said, it just, because like even mom, even my mom, she was like, never even heard of it, you know. And I think that that's exactly what it is. I think it was a film that kind of came out under the radar, And maybe it was intended for that, because they didn't want the backlash of, a killer Santa Claus, you
That
know.
the
And
backlash that ensued with Silent Night, man, that movie. Oh, I've never like when you go through and see backlash of movies and stuff like that. But that was on a different scale.
oh yeah,
When you have critics like panning the movie, but not only that, but like giving out information for the producers and the directors, the personal information, so people can write letters to them and chastise them and stuff like that's going one step too far, man. That's
oh yeah,
terrible, And
yeah.
I've never seen a movie get that kind of backlash before. So that was
No,
like an anomaly,
yeah.
you know. So the fact that this didn't happen, so I guess you would consider this a true hidden gem.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
like I said, most people I know never even heard of this movie. I mean, even people have heard of Silent Night, Deadly Night before because I guess it was so infamous. But no one. I mean, seriously, I go down the street, ask your average Joe, have you ever heard of a movie called Christmas Evil? No, what's that? Never heard of that before. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get somebody, or you're going to get a lot of people say, no, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
So it's a movie that's flown under the radar. It's a true hidden gem. And, hopefully, even with us doing the show and discussing this movie, maybe it'll get, some people interested in watching it. Maybe it'll resonate with people. As long as they know
Hmm.
what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it definitely surprised me with what kind of film it turned out to be.
Yeah.
But so one of the things that I did want to talk about, and since we're approaching the end of this film, um, which by the way, there was another brilliant scene. I wanted to talk about that real quick, but
The brilliant scene I forgot to bring up while you were talking about the one we were just talking about previously. I was going to bring something up, but I didn't get a chance to yet.
is it about the chimney?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost kind of a breaking moment, because again, you're talking about a man that's potentially dealing with split personality, and if he's like, fully thinking that he's Santa, he's about to go down this chimney. It seems like he progresses, house visit to house visit and stuff as Santa. And once he finally reaches this is the pinnacle, he's going to go down the chimney. He's going to do the whole bit with the toys and everything, and then maybe try and climb back up the chimney. But he can't squeeze down the chimney. It is like unrealistic for him.
Yeah.
And you can see where he's genuinely like frustrated doing it. Like he's like slamming his fist down and trying to wedge himself out of this chimney.
Yeah. It's a moment, man. It's a great scene. Almost like there's a moment where he's almost like fucking terrified he's going to get stuck here and die or something. Like
Mhm.
he genuinely has a moment there. And like I said, it just goes to the actor. Like he killed it. Killed this
Yeah.
role. Killed this role. So, and it's just a shame he's never went on to do anything more like this. Like, I mean, I'm not 100% familiar with his filmography, but I know he's never done anything that I've heard of before this. So,
It kind of goes down to like what's that Buddy Cooper movie, Mutilator, kind of like Mutilator was such a good film. Why didn't he make more movies? Kind of deal. Or even the killer in that movie, Ben. Why didn't he go and do more movies?
yeah.
Because he was good as a killer.
I came to the realization of that today because I was on Letterboxd earlier, and I was watching a couple films. And I was like, what else has this director done? And I go to their Letterboxd and pretty much their IMDb on there, and look, and they directed one movie, and I'm like, man, that's a shame because they should have really done more. They have
Hmm.
like talent. I just wonder
Yeah.
why they never really did anything else. It sucks, man. Like some people's careers never blossomed and
Yeah.
never.
And maybe that's because this film flew under the radar so well.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Unfortunately, you're right. We'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but me and you were on the same page with that chimney scene, dude. I wanted to bring that up, and
Mhm.
look at you. You brought it right up.
Now, one of my rants here is pretty much towards the end of the film, and this is where things got. I'm not wanting to say boring, but it was for me a little bit, because it almost seemed like, this character study, it happened, over a length of time. And this isn't a long movie by no means. It's an hour and 30 minutes long, maybe a little bit more.
Really average,
Yeah, and it just, towards the end, it just felt like such a long movie. It really did. Like I don't know what it was, but for me, it just kind of felt like a longer. It just a lot of stuff that could have possibly been edited out, But I get why it was in there, because it was important to the story and the demise to the main character, Harry.
yeah,
So
go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I get it, I get everything towards the end, but it just, I don't know, some things I just felt it really didn't need to be there, The fight between him and his brother towards the end, I think that definitely needed to be there, because it kind of shows he wants support. After all this, he wants support from his brother, and instead of his brother listening to him or trying to figure it out or help him,
He passes him and
just like strangles him.
Yeah.
But
like you said, that I love that scene because it pays forward, and there's a closure there where Harry kind of finally stands up for himself, and he grows his balls almost in a way where he kind of pushes back, and he's like not taking bullshit, and you kind of like, yay, it's a character moment where like finally he kind of, in a way, he kind of sticks up for himself, and in a way too, he kind of has closure with his brother and stuff like that, which is, it's real tragic when you think about it.
Well, it's sad because there's this love between them, even though there's kind of a I'm wanting to say more so there's like a misunderstanding where he's just misunderstood, by his brother, and ultimately his brother just wants to look up to his brother, but he's like, I've got, pretty much like he's got to act like the older brother, and now he's like, how am I going to clean up this mess now? You make make problems for us and everything, and this is a situation where honestly, I don't know if he wants to ever disown his brother, but it's what it's sounding like, and then he can't control himself at one point, and that's when he starts strangling his brother. It's just a really sad moment.
It is.
And then that's when he realizes that Billy really isn't there for him anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when he pretty much just punches him and hauls ass.
Yeah, he takes off. It's really, really sad, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the ending so brilliant to me.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about the ending, because the ending, I didn't really care for the ending. So
really,
maybe hearing it from you, I might understand it a little bit better. But
I love it. I personally love it. I think it's a brilliant way to end this character study, man, where it's almost like a Frankenstein moment where the parents in the town are chasing him with the pitchforks and fires, and they're chasing him down. He's a monster. We got to get him, and he's pretty much backed into a corner, and he has no escape. But really, at this point, and what I think is brilliant about this ending is Harry has nothing. He just severed ties pretty much with his brother. There's no going back from that to him in his mind. There's no going back to that. He can't ever face his nephews and even his sister-in-law and that family, the little bit of family that he has, because you can tell he's got nothing else. He's got no friends at work. He's got he's got the kids and stuff like that. But based on what he's done, he's never going to have that same relationship with his kids anymore.
Well, that's why he felt that he failed, and
yes.
he even says that he failed to his brother.
Yeah, and
everyone was right, and he was the wrong one.
Yeah. But that's what makes the ending so brilliant, is because even after what happens when they chase him down, he launches the van with, of course, the symbol of the sleigh and the reindeer. And it's almost like it's an open-ended ending where you're like, okay, obviously in reality, not in the film's reality, but in reality, he plunges off the bridge and he falls into the water. He's done. But in his mind, the last bit of hope that he had is where he still can see himself as Santa Claus flying to the North Pole almost. He had succeeded in giving these kids a Merry Christmas. He's completely, almost at 100% euphoria in his mind. But he's in the reality is he's probably drowning and it's the end of him. But in his mind, it's euphoric. It's triumphant, and it's really a beautiful thing for this character because we've seen him get shit on, and all he wanted to do was bring joy and happiness to the people around the world and do something good. And he's a failure because people around him never understood his condition, never helped him. So it's almost like a bittersweet, tragic ending, and that's what I find so brilliant about it. I love it. I think it's amazing.
He kind of wanted to be accepted and loved by all, and instead he was kind of more or less just treated as a monster. And in the end,
but
I guess maybe that's why he felt that he failed.
Yeah, but even still, I'll go back to just a little bit back. There's a scene where they have these Santa Clauses in a lineup, trying to figure out who the killer Santa Claus is, or who could be this killer Santa Claus, and they're having each one of these Santas, I guess like mall Santas and, maybe some Salvation Army Santas or whatever, like lining up, doing that. And one of the detectives says to another detective, he's like, hey, maybe this is a good thing. He said, maybe these kids will realize that everything's not always going to be handed to them and that they need to be more morally aware of what they do and how they act and stuff like that. So he's like, maybe this is kind of a good thing. And so there's a little bit of a dynamic there where like it's challenging society in a way to where they think, this could be not necessarily a positive thing, but maybe it'll help kids realize how good they have it and how things could get taken from them or whatever. There's something more to it. And I think the director was trying to add that piece in there and bring that up, it's for society, because our society is real shit right now, man. Let's be honest. And even back then it was. So, it's it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic, and I see kind of what they were trying to do there. But I kind of commend them for it. Even though, of course, no one's going to look up to a killer Santa Claus, and reality is like that's not going to happen. But maybe it'll have people think twice before they act like an asshole to somebody else.
Yeah, so that was my thing. Like I didn't really understand the ending, like what was going on. I mean, I understood that in his mind, yes, he was flying away, Yeah. But
and it's like
in reality, I was thinking, did he die? Did he just crash? Is
Definitely
he okay and arrested?
Definitely did. So, but I think at that moment when he's flying through the air and he sees himself as Santa Claus flying possibly back to the North Pole, he's completed his mission. He's completed what Santa does every year, drops off toys to all little boys and girls, goes back to the North Pole. I think in that one moment, and he even says Merry Christmas to all and to all a good night, that whole thing while he's in the air flying. I think at that moment, that's the happiest Harry has ever been in his whole entire life. That one small little smidget of time, that's the happiest he's ever been. And it's really sad, dude. Really, really tragic.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Definitely a different outlook than what I thought. So
did I sell you on it? Because I can keep going. I love the ending, dude. To me, it's brilliant.
I mean, it's definitely brilliant. I knew what they were going for in the mind, but I didn't. That's what I guess you're once again you're left as an audience, kind of to interpretation, But I kind of wanted that closure from the film, like I wish I would have seen like the van like crash into a river. Then I'd have been like, okay, well, that obviously he died, But I don't know. It didn't even look like he was crashing into a river to me. He just kind of was flying away. But I guess that was pretty much after he had crashed and gone.
I see that as all in his mind when he sees he's not living in reality. He's living in his own fantasy world, and we're finally getting a glimpse into his fantasy world just based on that little smidget of a scene. Like that's what he's been seeing this whole time, and now us as the audience at the end of the movie, the director opens it up to where we see it as an audience, which is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's once again brilliant written.
Yeah, everything,
Okay.
everything. Man.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, are you ready to get into ratings then?
Sure. Yep.
All right. So, you want me to go first? You want to?
Floor is yours, my man. If you want to go.
All right. So originally, yes. So okay. So first viewing, I watched it. I was ready to give it like a 2-star rating because I really just didn't understand what was going on. I was tired, stuff like that. It was just really a bad experience. So I'm glad I gave this another viewing and another chance. And then also after sitting down talking about it, and so originally I gave it a 3-star. But after talking about it and everything, and you know, that was solely based because there was some things that I didn't really care for. There was an editing issue right at the beginning, where the family was sitting on the stairs, and then all of a sudden, boom, they were gone. I was like, "What the fuck happened?" So I don't know if you've seen that, but maybe it was just the cut I've seen, but it was just bad editing, and it was probably original bad editing. But that was honestly the only bad editing that I could think of. And again, throughout I would say or close to the climax of the film when it started slowing down, because you learn who Harry is, you follow him on his journey, and then it starts slowing down towards the climax. And you would think in most horror films it would pick up because that's when all the killings happen, that's when the body counts happen, stuff like that, towards the end of the film. Even like the reveal of the film. But this is not your traditional slasher film. We've clearly pointed that out.
Exactly.
So there's more of an appreciation there now. So I did originally give it 3 stars. However, thinking and talking about the brilliance of this film and the writing process of this film and everything, I'm willing to bump it up to 3.5 now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Like I said, there's still some issues that I have with this film, but it outweighs the brilliance of this film outweighs that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm good with the 3.5 there.
For sure, I agree.
What about you?
Man, I fucking love this movie. I love this movie. I watch it every year around Christmas time. I honestly think it's one of the most brilliant character study Christmas movies, even higher than Silent Night, Deadly Night in those aspects, man, where you really can, because I think there's more to do with Harry's character than even Billy's character in Silent Night, Deadly Night. You see that slower progression to his mental decay. And I think it's really resonated more because they take the time to build it up in this movie. They don't concern themselves with trying to push it along and try to get past it, because then that would kind of cheapen the ending and the lead up to it. That would cheapen it. So they really take their time to build on this character. And it wouldn't work for not Brandon I think it's Maggart, his brilliant performance, man. He's pitch perfect in this movie. I don't see another person stepping in and doing a better job than he did. I don't see it, man. I think he is pitch perfect in this role. If this was one of the only movies he's ever done, I mean, I'm sure he's done a couple of other movies, but this was his starring moment. He killed it. He nailed it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He outshined everybody, and this movie's filled with phenomenal actors. I mean, or good actors. So it really speaks volumes. Like I said, the lead up, the psychological aspect of it, it just works for me. It really feels like Christmas in this movie. They take that aesthetic and they play with it, and it's really from beginning to end. They play with it throughout the entire film, which I love. If it's truly a Christmas horror movie, then you should see some Christmas, and they show you the Christmas. So that's awesome. Thank you. Everything I love about this movie, the direction, the screenplay, the acting, I love it all. The only little knock I have on it is maybe like the reasoning behind Harry's initial snap when he sees something as innocent. It's not like his mom was getting molested by Santa Claus. She was
Or
just getting
railed.
right or railed. She was just getting kind of felt up, and it was real classy and real. Like maybe
Yeah.
that's just what he saw in his mind or what. But you would think if it's something worse, he would see the worst of it. But no, based on what I saw, that's not really. It's kind of like a cop out, not a cop out, but a like a I don't know. It's not really a good way to push this guy into a psychological break. But he's a kid, so who knows, man? Kids
Yeah.
are all different. You know,
Yeah,
they see something
the slightest little thing could make them
Yeah,
snap. And
it could. Yeah. It seemed like I wouldn't say cop out, but it just seemed like something very small to kick off a psychological episode or a psychological breakdown for a character. But other than that, everything else I absolutely, and I'm not even really harking on that too much because, like I said, he's a kid. But this movie to me is brilliant. I love it. I give it 4.5 stars. It just resonates so much with me. Like I said, I watch it every year, dude. It's on heavy rotation for me. I watch it with my Black Christmas. I watch it with my Silent Night, Deadly Night. I watch it with my Krampus. You know, this is one of those films that I have to see around the holidays, man.
Yeah.
So, yep, 4.5 for me.
Right on. Oh yeah.
I really love it.
That's awesome. One of the things that we didn't talk about, and well, we kind of started hitting on it a little bit, but the look of Harry and stuff, and
Yeah.
those last few scenes, I mean, just behind the makeup, behind the beard and stuff. I mean, he just looks wore out,
We're out deteriorated, yeah.
Yeah, it almost seems like his progression to slip into the Santa Claus character has really just even changed his appearance because I get it. He's probably been awake for like 24 hours, so you don't look the same after 24 hours. You look tired, broken down, beaten. But I mean, down to like his skin just looked disgusting and stuff. Like his face behind everything just kind of looked rough, and kind of like going back to that Vinegar Syndrome cover, where you said that he almost kind of looked like a zombie Santa Claus. That's because he kind of did. Like he just looked wore out,
Yeah.
So
it's almost like harkening back to his mental state, his mental decay. His mind is out. It's showing in his appearance, where it's worn out and it's decaying, and that's what he's doing on the outside. So they kind of work in tandem there.
Yeah.
To me, look at how he looks at the end. It kind of resonates in that way. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
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 I could keep going on and on, man, about this movie, but I don't want to go 3 hours. So yeah, we can land this one. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Well, let's land it.
All right.
You want to land the sleigh? Oh,
let's land the sleigh. Yeah. There you go.
Well, folks, you've been watching an episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast, and we hope that you enjoyed this one. Sorry if we ruined it for you. And again, you can check it out on Shudder and Tubi. Obviously Tubi is free, but I would probably check it out on Shudder because you probably get a better quality version of it. But with that, they're both pretty good quality. So I've checked out both of them. Make sure that you head over to our Facebook group. Make sure that you join in on our suggestion episode that's coming up. We'll be doing the drawing at the end of this week coming up. So be sure to look for that. I'm excited too. So far, we don't have a whole lot of entries, so I'm hoping we can get some more in there. So make sure that you head over there and check that out and enter in. And, also leave a comment down below about what's your favorite Christmas horror film. Let's get a conversation going. We haven't had one of those in a while, so looking forward to some of those. But yeah, just make sure that you let your friends know. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube. And folks, we appreciate the growth. We just recently noticed that we're starting to get more followers on YouTube. That's awesome. And you know, just overall some more views on our reviews and stuff.
Right, tons more.
Yeah, because like we're almost at 3,000 views on one of our reviews, and then what did I say the other day? 2,600 on Summer of '84. So thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, just keep telling your friends and keep us growing. That's what we're about, you know. But Tony, you got anything?
Nope. I just want to share the love for the holidays with everybody out there, our listeners. Thank you guys so much for helping us continue to do what we do. We really appreciate it. Just join in that Facebook group, man. Let's get some discussions going. Let's liven it up. We'll see about like you said, man, everybody's favorite holiday horror films or Christmas horror films. Love to hear what everybody watches around this time of year.
It's definitely awesome. Well, thank you again, guys.
Thanks, you guys.
Later.